Hey everybody, Hoosier Jedi here again with another review for you. This time we're going to be talking about episode 8 of Green Lantern, the animated series called Fear Itself. Now overall, I don't think this was actually one of the stronger episodes this season, but there were still some interesting things going on, and a few things philosophically that I think are worth talking about. Now, the main theme, of course, in this episode is, as it's in the title, fear. Fear and what fear can do to people. And let's talk about what that. All right, our main focus on this episode is, of course, Kilowog. Now, if I'm not a huge expert on Kilowog's history, but what we saw about him losing his family, that does match up with what I remember from the comics. So that to me says that Kilowog's real greatest fear is losing people that he cares about. And when he meets up with Galia, who I know her people had a name or something like that, but I'm just for fun, I'm going to call them orcs because that's what they look like to me. It's pretty obvious that he sees a lot of his dead wife in her, and with that little kid whose name I don't remember, and all the other people in the village, he definitely sees a lot of his old family in them. And as soon as he starts to see that, he starts to fear losing them. And when the yellow crystals or whatever really take hold of him, it takes that fear and it drives Kilowog to do things that he would never normally do. I mean, he tries to kill Hal. He takes one look at Hal hanging out with the jellyfish aliens and declares him a traitor. And he's basically goads people into leading a war of genocide. I mean, this is Kilowog, one of the real stand-up, top-notch good guys of the Green Lantern's Corps. And this is what fear can do to him. It can turn him into a complete monster. And again, this is what happens with the orcs. From what we see, they're generally a fairly nice, peaceful people. But fear of the jellyfish miners, yes, the Nindara. I do actually seem to remember what they're called for some wonderful reason. It drives them, again, as I said, to basically be willing to go out and commit genocide. And the fear that's driving them, as best I can tell, is the fear of that which is different. They don't understand the Nindara. They have no way to communicate with them. And when something is so radically different from you that you honestly can't communicate with it, you don't know how to make heads or tails of it, you don't understand what it wants, it is natural that you're going to be afraid. But again, fear takes hold of these people. It makes them their slave, it makes them its slave, and before they know it, they're off ready to commit genocide. And that is the power that the negative emotions like rage and avarice, we're definitely going to be seeing more of avarice, I'm sure, and fear can do to people. But speaking of those emotions, let's step aside from all of that for a moment and go talk about what's happening with Razor. I actually think this was the real highlight of this episode. Razor and Aya are really just so interesting whenever they're together. And I love seeing them together because it just, the sparks, and I don't mean like sparks romantically or anything like that. I mean the sparks of drama between putting these two characters together. It just makes for such wonderful storytelling. And Aya's efforts to kind of give Razor a new oath that will still let him access his Red Lantern powers. I mean, it really is very cool, and it is in keeping with the comics. Now, we all probably know the Green Lantern Oath. In brightest day, in blackest night, no evil shall escape my sight. Let those who worship evil's might beware my power, Green Lantern's light. We all know it. Now, if you read the comics, one of the interesting things is, and you can find the whole list of these on the Green Lantern wiki if you want to go look at it, is that many of the other lanterns have variations on the oath, and some of them are pretty out there. Look up a guy called Jack D. Chance if you really want to hear a really goofy Green Lantern oath. possibly surpassed only by the one that Duck Dodgers has. Yeah, Duck Dodgers, Daffy Duck has a Green Lantern oath. You can find a clip of it on YouTube. Anyway, so I really did enjoy that alternate Red Lantern oath that she came up with. The series is proving very good at that sort of thing. And seeing Razor try it out and not having it work and then having him lie to Aya about it, that was really gold to me. And remember where Razor says at the very end of it all, that is your fate, after he recites the Red Lantern oath one more time. And just the absolute despair, the resignation in him in that scene. Razor, when he became a Red Lantern, it really was a deal with the devil. He has bonded himself to something powerful and horrible. I mean, if you read the comics, the entity that powers the Red Lantern is called the Butcher. And now I won't. Now that's some really complicated stuff. I won't go too much further into it, just so as not to confuse the people who just know the show. But that is a very apt name for what Razor has attached himself to, along with Atrocitus. And despite all of her good intentions, despite the fact that Razor has turned away from this path, the simple fact is, a few pretty words are not going to change his situation. There is no, for Razor, at least as far as he knows, as far as he believes, there is no getting away from what he has been bent and twisted into. And all the other pretty oaths in the world aren't going to change that. He has to keep drawing from that well of hate and rage in order to continue to be able to do anything. Without it, he's nothing. And the really sad thing is that it's very clear, if you're watching the show and paying attention, that at this point, the thing that Razor hates, it's not even Atrocitus. The thing that Razor hates most is himself. And yeah, really, what can Razor do? He is in a huge no-win situation. Is it really any wonder that in last episode he was so willing to go out and just die? Yeah. It's surprising just how dark this show is, isn't it? But anyway, let's step away from this depressing stuff and talk about some of the good things about this episode. First of all, I have to say that the fight between Hal and Kilowog was just absolutely killer. The choreography, the art, the graphics, the CGI, all of it there was just really, I think, some of the best stuff that we have seen in this entire season. And what I really loved is the creative and exciting ways that Kilowog and Hal use their rings against each other. This really felt like it gave a true sense of just how powerful a Green Lantern ring can be. And when put in the hands of someone who is trained and capable, like Hal and Kilowog, folks, there is a reason a Green Lantern's ring is called the most powerful weapon in the universe, and we saw some of that right there. So let me see here. What else do we have to talk about? Yeah. One other thing about this episode that I really didn't like is how all Kilowog had to really do to more or less snap out of what was happening to him was take off his stupid little jeweled tiara thing. And okay, now I grant you, it took him a little while to kind of come down from that. But that was the same for all the other orcs. As soon as they take the stupid little hat off, bam, they're back to normal. Never mind the fact that they've been eating, as Galea says, they use the yellow crystals for everything. They eat the stuff. So, their bodies should just still be absolutely swimming in yellow crystal residue, whatever the heck term you want to use. So them just kind of snapping out of it like that, no, that just really does not work in terms of storytelling for me. Now, granted, again, things like this are just sort of necessary on shows that are only 22 minutes. Yeah, folks, blame that on the fact that over the years, the amount of time given to each hour of television to commercials has grown by 8 minutes. I think, yeah, something like 8 minutes in the last 20 years. Ain't modern life grand, huh? Okay. Well, amazingly enough, I actually managed to say everything that I wanted to say about this episode in a much smaller amount of time than I normally do. So, with that said, everybody, overall, an interesting little character study for Kilowog. Definitely some very nice moments for Razor and Aya, and a couple of nice laughs for Hal and all that. But overall, not the strongest episode. But still, even a slightly less than stellar episode of Green Lantern is still better than the majority of stuff you're going to find out there on television today. So this episode is still worth a watch. Anyway, that's all I have to say. Until next time, please comment, rate, and subscribe. And as I have said before, you can follow me on Twitter as Who's Your Jedi. And until next time, see ya and have a good one.